Day 7, which is the 22nd season, 1998, and that was Seiju Sentai Gingaman. Gingaman was kind of interesting. It felt oldish and also newish. Even though I enjoyed the music fine, there were parts where it felt dated. But then also they ended up doing some things that would lead it or create a foundation for later Super Sentai. And I guess I'll just kind of brush over them a little bit briefly. Everybody has that armor power up or the beast armor shine. Like that's, and then because you'll see something like this later in something like Deca Ranger Spot mode, Mighty Ranger Legendary mode, or Ghost Agers Legendary mode. And then I don't know why I noticed it, but there are some seasons of Super Sentai which follow this setting mechanic where the Rangers live with like a friend and that friend's father. Like you'll see, like I saw this in Ghost Ager and to an extent Ju-Oger, except one of the Rangers or that friend was also a Ranger, and they were living with the uncle. I even kind of noticed this in the current season of Real Soldier, where they're living with a friend who's actually a girl this time and not a kid, and they're living with their dad. So, and then in the case of Real Soldier, there's the added bonus of these kind of legendary swords. Except in the case of Real Soldier, the swords have a collectible power mechanic, but I'll get to those when I get there. I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy the season, but something about it definitely felt older, and I'm not sure why. Okay, now I guess just moving on to the things I liked and things that threw me off. So I really liked the Black Knight Kurokishi arc, or I guess the Magna Defender arc equivalent, and noticing some of the changes. I think I'll just get to it later because hint, favorite episode. I actually kind of like the villain structure they did for this. So the way the villain structure is, they're all trying to work towards something. There is like a person on top, but everyone's kind of working individually. So they each general has their own like set of monsters. For instance, the first one was, it's like a mix between bugs and insects and like a biker gang, and the next one was like sea creatures and ninjas, and I think one of them was like a samurai, and then the third one was like a Egyptian, and then it had just any sort of mythical creature. So things like that. And then there was a Viking mixed with, I didn't really know what the other one was, but I liked how that villain structure worked, where each general has like a different style, and then you kind of see this later on in something like Hurricaneer. But the thing that kind of threw me off about it was it's very sectional. Like, okay, here's this villain's this general's few episodes to shine, he dies, next one their moment to shine, they die, and so on and so forth. Whereas in some of the future Super Sentai that I see that sort of follow that structure, it's more spread evenly throughout the season. So I kind of like being able to see them sort of, I don't know if grow is the right word, but kind of see them towards the end, just so that, kind of like warriors respect or whatever. You know what, thinking about it now, maybe it felt older. I mean, I think the music did kind of make it feel a little older. I think what made it feel older was kind of that juxtaposition between like space and space beasts and like this sort of ancient civilization and like their connection to Earth and nature. Because usually when we think of space, we'll think like high tech or sci-fi, whereas this was rooted more in that kind of tribe and ancient society kind of theme. So I think that's kind of what made it feel older than what I initially interpreted. But I definitely checks off a lot of things I like. I mean, space, animals. I mean, they kind of did a spaceship thing with technically 3 of the mechas later in the season, so I think it is just that juxtaposition of having a space theme where you normally think futuristic sci-fi and mixing that with ancient tribal society. I think is kind of what made it feel older than what I initially felt. But I guess just on to the things that kind of threw me off. So I know this isn't a huge deal, but it took me a while to realize that the actor who plays Hyuga, or the second Black Knight, is the same actor as Sasuke from Kakuranger or Ninja Red. And because I read about it before, but I still couldn't see it. And honestly, I think it's because the brief time I saw him in Ninja, and then when I saw him throughout Kakuranger, he always had a headband on or a bandana, so I didn't know what his hair or his forehead looked like. So it took a while for me to see it. And I mention this because this actually comes to play in later seasons, and I'll explain it when I get there. Even though he's considered an extra ranger, I did feel like he was more part of the team. Maybe it's because he has that special bond with Ryoma, Ginga Red, who's his brother, and he has a previous relationship with all the other rangers. So I feel like he felt more part of the team, even though he's considered an extra ranger and not a 6th ranger, or his mech can't combine with any of the others. Another thing that took me a while to realize is that I didn't realize that the eye catch, or the little screen that shows up and little jingle that comes on every time before and after they go to commercial, is in the style of a storybook. And it took me a while to realize the importance of what that meant, is because the child and the father that they are staying with, the father is trying to make a storybook. He's a storybook illustrator, and I think it was because I think I finally realized it when I think it was towards the New Year's episode, because that's usually a clip show where they kind of look through the past year, and he's finalizing his book and he's sharing the pictures with all of them, and it finally occurred to me oh right, the dad's trying to make a storybook, he makes all these drawings, and then that's when it finally clicked. Oh, is that why the eye catch is the way that it is? Oh, that makes a lot of sense now. And this actually kind of comes into play later in the Gokaiger tribute episode But again, I'll get to that when I get there. So I guess just on to the my favorite episode, which isn't an episode, it's another arc. And if it wasn't obvious before, it is the Bull Black or Kurokishi arc, or the in the Power Rangers equivalent, the Magna Defender arc, which reminds me, bam, sorry, glare, yep, another VHS, yeah, there you go, VHS. So I've written here that the Magna Defender arc was about 9 episodes. I'm not quite sure how many episodes this has. I definitely remember one of the episodes it had was the episode where the part of the city is in a bubble, or like a force field, and they can't break through, and you know, Magna Defender's not afraid to destroy the world. I'm not sure if it has the end of his arc. So it was kind of hard to not pick this one, just because, you know, watching through it, especially that arc, and I just felt like a kid again, just like when I was watching the Psycho Ranger, Neji Ranger arc for Mega Ranger and Power Rangers in Space. This one had a few subtle differences, and just watching it again as an adult gave me a different appreciation for it. Bull Black, who is the first Black Knight, he has a really like deep and dark story. I mean, I think Magna Defender actually, so they actually adapted the story and character fairly closely, in that he was out for revenge. But something that, a small change that they made is that in this case, Magna Defender was trying to get revenge for his son. In the Super Sentai, Bull Black was trying to get revenge for his brother. I think why I can appreciate this arc is more, especially watching it as an adult, is because there's a certain quality of redemption that comes with his character and his character arc. And, you know, I'm trying to think. So I watched this in April of 2019. I was still unemployed, and I was job searching, and, you know, wasn't really doing that well. So I was getting pretty discouraged. But, you know, something about just that feeling of redemption, it kind of made me feel like, you know, this isn't the end, or, you know, I have other choices that I can make. It's like, I don't have to die with this decision. It's like, I can make a new choice for myself, kind of a thing. Or I think it's more like, you know, I'm not defined by my past, or, you know, there's always a choice moving forward, or I can always make a new choice, kind of a thing. And that's kind of what Bull Black did before he sacrificed himself to save Hyuga and essentially the world, the planet. So I think, you know, maybe subconsciously it kind of, you know, gave me hope for my own redemption arc, kind of. So I think, you know, I think that's why that arc hit a little bit closer than I was intending. Yeah, I think just the theme of redemption kind of, you know, touched me a little bit more than I thought it did. I think it it was a subconscious feeling that I didn't really think about until, you know, going through these videos and trying to remember why I chose the episodes and arcs that I did, like in terms of what stood out to me. I mean, yeah, it's because, I felt like a kid again and growing up with it, but I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. It's only 7 days into making the videos, after a year of watching Super Sentai, but just revisiting it like this is kind of, I don't know, making me fall in love with the Super Sentai again, even though I didn't fall out of love. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. Also a lot of self-discovery, and I'm also having fun, even though not a lot of people are going to watch this. But again, it's mostly for me and my own development, so I guess in the end it really only matters what I am to me. But that's okay.